So, welcome back, everybody, to the Canada Specialist webinar program. Great to have Lyn joining me today. We're going to have a chat about all things Calgary, but again, lots of you will know Lyn. Lyn's been around for a while. Hey, Lyn.
Yeah, in many of my many guises. I was Travel Alberta for 17 years. And like Sarah says, I couldn't say it any better. Canada is such a beautiful place. I think everyone's seen that nationwide now from right across the world. And I still get as excited about going back as I did that very first time years ago. But yes, I'm here today talking about all things Calgary. Thank you everyone for coming to join us. I will try and be as prompt as Sarah. I'm not so much as a pro as her, but hey, we'll keep it going. So Calgary.
Yes, Calgary. And of course, Sarah's just been talking about the Rockies as well. And Calgary is, that big gateway, and it's going to be the pre and the post for many of the tours. So can you just tell us, where is Calgary and how do we get around?
Cool. So Calgary is in Western Canada. It is one of the provinces next to British Columbia, part of Alberta. The great news from the UK is that there are direct flights from Gatwick, Heathrow, Manchester, Edinburgh, Glasgow and Dublin this summer. So what more could you want? There is plenty of flights available. It's about 8.5 hours away. And once you arrive, you come into Calgary International Airport. It's the third largest airport in Canada. It's very modern. It was only opened, I think the new terminal was open probably about 5 years ago now. Sorry, we've lost a couple over the last few years, so I forget quite how long it was. But really easy to navigate your way through, and it's only 20 minutes from downtown Calgary. So there is plenty of ways of getting in, whether you take the shuttle buses, do car hire, but there's taxis, there's Uber, there's rideshare. There's plenty of different options to get down into the city. The city is one of the sunniest cities in Canada, and people always think of Canada as cold. I'm telling you, it gets warm in summer. In fact, at the moment, they're experiencing 24 degrees, so they're having a lovely spring out there. A little bit too warm in some stations. You might have heard about the wildfires, but hopefully the rain is going to come and sort of put most of them out. Calgary's great. It's on a river valley. You'll see the C train goes across the city. The section in blue is completely free, so you can ride the downtown area for no charge at all, and work your way out. As it's a very sunny place, it's very outdoorsy. So whether you want to run, walk, hike, there's loads of urban pathways. There's trails going for over 1,000 kilometers. So there's plenty of ways of getting about. But the city is divided into little neighborhoods, and each one has got a slightly distinct flavor, feels slightly different, whether you want the music of Inglewood or the shopping of 17th Avenue. Each one has got a little bit of its own taste.
Thank you. And we'll talk now a bit about, what are our key things to do? So why would you stay in Calgary for a few days? Talk us through some of those top attractions, please.
And there are so many, so I'm going to try and just do a quick flavour, because obviously I think people don't know what Calgary's got to do. So there's Heritage Park, which is a living museum where you can ride on a steam train. All the museum exhibits are from 1850 to 1950, and all the guides are in their interpretive dress. You can ride a paddle wheel boat across the lake, which is quite cool. Shop and eat with all things from that district. And Gasoline Alley is one of my favourites, with the old cars and petrol pump stations. So loads to do there. Calgary Zoo is actually wilderness. Sorry, the word's gone out of my head, but basically they're linked with the Wilder Institute, and it makes them a leading conservation area. So it's a non-for-profit zoo where they are working to make sure these animals do not go extinct. They're continuing to help people ensure that they are doing the best for the animals and the plants and keeping them going. There's a new exhibition opening at the end of the year, which is all about Canadian wilds, showing the polar bears and the goats, the otters, etc., and how they're keeping them going. There are loads of galleries and museums for you to see, but don't miss Telespark. It's a great science museum, which is really cool, with lots of interactive displays. So something for all the family. And then I'd be remiss not to mention, sorry, I think I've just got this in the way, but the Calgary Tower. It's been standing proud over Calgary for 50 years. It's 191 meters tall. It looks over the downtown core, but it's a full 360 experience where you can look over the whole of the city, but then also down to the south and east, west, north, and go all the way to the mountains. One thing that's quite different is it's not just a glass square in the floor, it actually goes up the sides as well. So for those of you that are a little bit sort of nervous, I'd say hold on tight to the rail. I think with any city, oh, sorry, my screen has frozen. I think with any city, the best way to get a idea of what's there is by taking a tour and actually spending time with the locals. They know the city better than anyone else. So here would be 3 of my top tips. So Calgary walks and bus tours. They're going to walk you around the city centre. You're going to see lots of public art, and there's a lot of it about. You've probably seen that big wire white face. If you ever see Calgary, you can walk inside it. It's very, very cool. They'll also show you sculpture gardens, give you a little bit of history about the city and of the architecture and what's going on around the city. Don't know about any of you, but I'm a big foodie. So for me, the Alberta food tour is the ideal way. You get to not only eat your way around the city, but get to really scratch under the skin of some of those neighborhoods. So whether you're going to a lovely local restaurant or whether it's a deli, you'll probably do about 5 or 6 stops en route, but you'll get a real flavor of how these chefs and business owners are changing the way of the culinary scene in the city. And you'll never eat food this good. It's fantastic. And you just get a little bit of everything. And so by the time you've finished, you spent a great few hours meeting great people and hearing about the food changing in Calgary. And then you've got the Rocky Mountain Sidecar Adventures. It really is a cool and unique way to get around the city. You can go and travel to places a little bit further afield, get your photo shots like this one overlooking the Saddle Dome, which is right by the side of Stampede Park with the city in the background. And they do lots of custom made tours as well. So they'll even take you to the Eau Claire distillery, but more on that later. So Studio Bell is the National Music Centre, and that's 5 floors of really cool interactive exhibitions for anyone who's into their music. It's right on East Village, close to the riverfront, so you can go for a walk afterwards. But go inside, they have artists, they have musicians. You can see Elton John's piano, the Rolling Stones mobile recording booth. There's so much history there and just a really cool space. Downhill karting by the Skyline. This is the largest downhill kart track in Canada, of over 1 mile long with 50 turns. That's at Wind Sports, but again, I'll come back to that one. And then you've got the Alberta Boot Company. So if you're you fancy a pair of cowboy boots, and let's be honest, we all need a pair. Why not go here?
Get them from the right place.
Exactly. They will make them to the exact measurements of your feet. It's a bit hard to get off the first time, so I recommend you buy one of their boot pullers. But no, they'll actually go back and tell you all about the crafts and how they're made and the history of it. So definitely a stop there is worth a trip. So who doesn't like gin, hey? Well, the Eau Claire distillery, that's an award-winning distillery just south of Calgary on the Cowboy Trail. They have won awards for both their gin and their whiskey, and they have a shop there too, so you can stock up if you're going on from Calgary. And the sidecar tours that I mentioned earlier, they'll do a trip, so you can go and see their 1920s Prohibition exhibition and take a drink in their speakeasy bar, and then someone else can drive you home. Sounds like a win to me. For anyone who's into wildlife, the Yamnuska Wolf Dog Sanctuary is not to be missed. These animals are beautiful, and this sanctuary has saved many of them that have been abandoned or found injured. And you can go there and walk amongst the sanctuary. They even do activities where you can go in with a leader and sit quietly and just watch these people come around. But they're beautiful dogs and they've all been saved. So it's really a special place to visit. And then, as we've already said, it's sunny, it's hot. So what better way than getting out on the water? Calgary Paddle Station, it's easy access to the city. You can turn up. They've got all the safety equipment, whether you want to raft, kayak, or get on a stand-up paddleboard. Really good fun in the city.
And
So,
winter.
the winter, yeah. So everyone in Canada says there's no such thing as bad weather, it's bad clothing. And Calgary is one of the driest places in all of Canada. So the snow is soft and powder-like. So they love coming out in winter, and they have so much going on, you're never going to be bored. So wind sport, which is the legacy from the '88 Olympics, where you might think Eddie the Eagle, that's a great centre for anyone who wants to do any outdoor activities. You can do ski lessons, boarding, they'll do tobogganing. There is just so much going on. And also there is the Olympic Museum. So not only are they showing the history of the Olympics over the last 100 years, they're also helping Canadians Olympians for the future. Great sports session, great sports equipment, and you can go and have a real good time there. Fun for all the ages, I think. The Chinook Blast is the winter festival in January and February, and it celebrates all the arts and cultures with loads of events and concerts to take place. And then you've got the lights at the zoo. This is from the mid-November till early January. The zoo is surrounded in millions of lights, illuminations, activities, and it really is a special thing to do. And then finish off walking around with a hot chocolate with maybe a little bit of alcohol in if you fancy. Sorry, I sound like an alcoholic now.
It's fine. It's fine. Talk about alcohol. It's all good. Gin, hot chocolate with a bit of Baileys. Love it. Thank you. Yeah, already a comment. So much to do in Calgary. There really is. So hopefully you've learned a bit there. Lyn, of course, we can't talk about Calgary without mentioning the greatest outdoor show on earth, the Calgary Stampede, which funny enough, me and you met at about 11 years ago.
Oh, is it that long?
It's a long time ago. So yeah, tell us a bit about the Stampede.
Well, it's really hard to describe the Stampede because I'm sure you'll confirm, Charlie. It's one of those things you have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
It is 10 days of Western heritage culture and music and festival all wrapped into one right downtown in the city. So the whole city gets involved. The shops are decorated. Because it's so warm as well, often July, you've got all the patios and outdoor terraces for the bars with hay bales. They're all decorated for Stampede. There is just so much to do. Think of a music festival, an agricultural show, Indigenous exhibition, plus then all the Western heritage all wrapped into one. So I really do think that you should do a 2 or 3 day ticket so you can fully take advantage, see the chuck wagon races, the fireworks shows, the grandstand show. Tickets go on sale every October, and it definitely is a good job to get them early because they do sort of sell, and accommodation in Calgary is prime during that time as well. But really fantastic event to take part in and see Calgary completely turn into its Western heritage. So it's a great activity.
Yeah, it's a cool experience. Thank you. Moving on now to some accommodation options, please. Oh no, Indigenous experiences first. Sorry, jumped ahead.
That's okay. Well, Calgary lies within the boundaries of Treaty 7 and the Métis homeland, and there is a lot of it to celebrate in Calgary. But I just wanted to pick a few special businesses to highlight, but there are plenty more. But we've got Quinn, who's a Plains Cree native. He does fly fishing, and the Bow River is the 3rd best spot for trout fishing in the world. So if you have any fishers, he's a great guy to go out with. We've got the Painted Warriors. They are based outside Calgary, but they do everything from survival guides and camps to medicine walks, to hunting, fishing, and just explaining some of their traditions and stories. It really is a fantastic way to sit around a campfire and listen to some of the stories and the traditions that they were brought up on. And then we also have the Moonstone Creation Gallery in Inglewood. I think it's Inglewood. Yeah, I think it is just on the boundary of Inglewood. It's a great place where you can go. It's they sell things from over 60 different artisans, do great tarot card readings as well, which is a great way to spend an hour of your time and find out what is in your future.
Thank you. Accommodation options?
So there are plenty for every budget in Calgary, and I'm sure you'll be able to find something that you want. Obviously, there's the famous ones like Fairmont and Leisure, but our brand new one is the Dorian. It's the autograph collection. It's in the business district in Calgary. But yes, you will not be short of hotels. There is plenty to choose from. And obviously, if you've got clients coming in, they're transferring via Toronto or they're coming in late from another airport, there are plenty of options. You've got the Marriott in terminal, and then you've got all of these options surrounding the airport. So there is no, we'd rather you came downtown and enjoyed some of the city, but if you want to stay near the airport before they start afresh the next day, there's plenty of different options.
Thank you. Lots of options. Now, of course, Alberta is a great place to go shopping. There is no provincial sales tax, which is a really good excuse to go shopping. Yeah, where are good places to shop in Calgary?
So there's so many. I mean, I have to say my very first trip, I had to go shopping because I had no luggage. And now it just became an annual tradition. Each time I go, I fill up another case. But whether you want to go to the Calgary Farmers Market and pick up some local goodies, there's a second outlet now, which is right opposite Windsport. So if you're going out on an RV, it's a great place to stop and get some food before you head out of the city. Smith Built Hats is famous for their hats, so it's the place to go. I've already mentioned the Alberta Boot Company as well. The core is on St. Stephen's Avenue, pedestrian street right in downtown of the city. Great place to do your shopping. St. Stephen's Avenue as well is pedestrianised, lots of bars, restaurants, great place to sit and just soak it all in. And if you're there during Stampede, you will have probably 3-4 parades during the morning come past before everyone heads to Stampede Park. You've got the Chinook Centre, which is about a 10-minute ride from the city centre. And then if you're out by the airport, Cross Iron Mills is a great outlet village. And go and buy some outlet stores before you leave. As you say, no provincial sales tax at all in Alberta, which makes it a really good buy.
Thank you. We're just going to wrap things up now with, of course, we were talking about the Rockies earlier, but what are some of the other things you might do as day trips or tours from Calgary in Alberta?
So Calgary is surrounded by these 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, including the Rockies, but there are several others, whether it's Dinosaur Provincial Park, Head Smashed in Buffalo, or Waterton Glacier Park. There are quite a few. So it's a great place to base yourself as a hub and do a hub and spoke. Base yourself in Calgary. A lot of the hotel rooms have almost suite sort of kitchenettes in them as well as eating out. So you can use them if you just don't fancy a day out, a night out after you've been traveling, but go out and explore and then come back into the city. Thank you, Lyn. Have you got some contact details for us? Yes, I have. So my colleagues Mito and Marilyn unfortunately couldn't be here today, but here are their contact details. We're on all the social medias, so Tourism Calgary, please have a look. And if you need anything, please feel free to put a question in the chat and I will try and come back to you as soon as possible. Awesome. Thank you so much. So yes, for those of you who maybe didn't know much about Calgary, hope that's given you some inspiration and some help for planning your clients and your own trips.